Okay, let's unpack this. You are lying in bed, right? It's 2 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, we all know the feeling.
Exactly. You're staring at the ceiling, just agonizing over some clumsy, maybe slightly defensive comment you made in a meeting like 9 hours ago.
The classic 2 a.m. cringe loop.
Yeah, your heart is racing, your stomach is tight, and you just keep replaying the moment on a loop.
Yeah.
But what if, and this is what we're looking at today, what if that exact moment could be hacked?
Right, like turning a negative into a feature.
Yes. What if, instead of losing sleep, you could use that time to literally upgrade your brain, almost like a nightly software update?
It's a fascinating concept.
It really is. So welcome to another deep dive. Whether you are prepping for a challenging day or just trying to catch up on some cutting-edge psychology, you are in the right place.
Absolutely. Welcome to the learner.
Today, we are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources, a blend of cognitive psychology, philosophy, and systems theory. Our mission today is to explore a framework that our sources call the evening analysis.
Which is arguably the ultimate tool for personal growth.
Right. We're going to break down how to shift away from that exhausting, toxic self-criticism that keeps you awake and move toward constructive mental optimization.
Yeah, turning you into the architect of your own serenity, basically.
Well said. But, before we can understand this nightly update, we
Mhm.
first have to recognize the starting line. Because you can't run a high-level software update if your computer is currently on fire. Right.
Exactly. To use that metaphor, we first have to recognize when your internal operating system has finally exited safe mode.
Safe mode, I like that.
Yeah, the sources actually dedicate a lot of time to identifying the specific signs that a difficult, exhausting phase of your life has actually ended. Because when you're going through a crisis, your whole psychological framework is built around avoidance.
You're just trying not to crash.
Right. You just want to get through the day without making things worse. It's a defensive posture.
It's survival mode. Just dodging incoming threats all day.
Exactly. But there is a distinct psychological marker when that phase finally ends. The texts describe a shift from that avoidance posture to an approach posture. You reach this sort of tabula rasa, a clean slate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, your nervous system realizes the immediate threat is gone. And suddenly, you aren't just trying to survive the day, you are driven by positive expectation. The sources use a very specific term for this. You become a pioneer.
A pioneer, like you're suddenly eager to go out and chart unknown territory.
Yes, and the reason you feel that sudden urge to explore is actually profound. When you were struggling, your sense of security was entirely dependent on the outside world.
Because if things were calm outside, you felt okay inside.
Precisely. If they were chaotic, you felt chaotic. But stepping into the pioneer role means you have relocated your foundation of security from the outside world to your own internal competence.
So you trust yourself to handle whatever happens.
Right. The unknown, which used to be terrifying, simply becomes a new environment to test your skills. You wake up and ask, okay, what do we get to conquer today?
I really love that reframing, relocating your security to the inside. But I have to ask, if I think about charting new territory or constantly testing my boundaries as this pioneer, I immediately think of exhaustion.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because when you push yourself, you burn a ton of energy. Yet the sources suggest that once you enter this phase, your daily life actually feels incredibly easy. Why is that?
It comes down to the absence of internal friction. Think about where your energy used to go during a tough phase. A massive amount of your daily cognitive load was spent on self-suppression.
Like holding back your reactions.
Yeah, managing anxiety, forcing yourself to smile, consciously telling your shoulders to relax. You were just holding a functioning mask in place so nobody knew you were struggling.
That is exhausting just to think about. It's like running a dozen heavy background apps on your phone all at once. And then you wonder why the battery's dead by noon.
That's a perfect analogy. But when you relocate your security inward, those background apps close. Your inner self, your actions, and the outside world mesh together in a state of coherence. No friction.
So your energy flows directly into your actions.
Exactly. In the psychology of learning, there's a framework called the 4 stages of competence. It starts at unconscious incompetence. You don't even know what you're doing wrong.
Right.
Then it moves up to conscious competence, where you can do the right thing, but it takes immense focus.
And the final stage.
Unconscious competence. The listener who reaches this new phase has hit that top tier. It flows naturally out of you. It's become your skin, not just a suit you wear.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. The texts talk about this concept of normalization. If you're suddenly performing at this peak level every day and is totally unconscious, doesn't it eventually just feel mundane?
It does become normal, yes.
Isn't that a bit sad, though? Don't we want to walk around feeling amazed by our own success? The magic kind of fades.
It might seem that way, but the fading of that astonishment is actually the highest compliment you can pay to your own development.
We really? How so?
Well, the human brain is an anomaly detection machine. It is hardwired to flag anything unusual to keep you safe. If you are suddenly incredibly calm during a hostile meeting, your brain is initially going to flag that.
Like, alert. This is highly unusual behavior for us.
Exactly. So when the alarm bells stop ringing, it's not because you lost the magic. It's because the neurological system has accepted this calm state as your new baseline.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you no longer waste a single drop of energy observing yourself to make sure you're doing okay. The silence of your internal alarm system is the ultimate victory.
Okay, that makes total sense. But it brings up a huge mechanical question for me. If the daytime is so effortless, so intuitive, and totally devoid of conscious self-monitoring,
Yeah.
where is the actual work of personal growth taking place?
Ah, that's the hidden engine.
Right, because unconscious confidence can't just turn into a stagnant autopilot. There has to be a mechanism driving this daytime ease.
You've hit on the core concept for beginners looking to increase their self-efficacy. The effortless daytime flow is just the output. The engine driving it, the place where the active coding happens, is the evening analysis.
So if the daytime is the effortless performance, the evening must be the locker room, where the high-performance athlete reviews the game tape.
That's exactly it. The text described the evening analysis as a deliberate practice of metacognition.
Metacognition, meaning thinking about your own thinking.
Right. You are stepping outside of yourself to observe your actions as if you were a neutral, honest advisor. It's a manual, highly conscious process before sleep. A decompression chamber, really, so old files aren't carried into the next day.
But wait, reviewing your mistakes right before bed? That sounds like a recipe for toxic rumination and a terrible night's sleep.
Yeah.
How is this different from just beating yourself up?
It comes down to the neurobiology of memory. Specifically, a process called neural reconsolidation, combined with imagery rescripting.
Okay, those are big terms. Break that down for us.
Sure, when you just ruminate, you are passively spinning in a circle of guilt. But when you recall a memory, it enters what neuroscientists call a lability phase.
A lability phase.
Yeah, it means for a brief window, that memory becomes physically unstable in your brain's neural pathways. It becomes malleable. Instead of passively spinning in guilt, you actively run a simulation.
So you're taking advantage of the memory being unstable.
Exactly. You analyze the error you made during the day, you find the optimized reaction, and you consciously overwrite the memory. It's a literal software update.
That is wild.
Tomorrow, your brain pulls the updated, optimized script. That is exactly why your days feel so effortless.
Because you already pre-computed the solution the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let's ground this in messy, unpredictable human reality. How does this actually apply to interactions like dealing with other people's negativity?
Give me an example.
Let's say someone slights you at work. Just a passive-aggressive insult. Your ego flares up, you get defensive. How does the evening analysis dismantle that?
The goal here is achieving ataraxia. It's an ancient Stoic concept of unshakable peace, completely untroubled by external affections.
So bulletproof serenity.
Yes. During the evening analysis, you deconstruct that insult. You look at it objectively and realize that being offended is simply an inefficient reaction. It gives away your agency.
Right, you handed your peace of mind over to a coworker.
Exactly. So you overwrite it with a variant that preserves your power. You visualize the insult, but this time you visualize yourself reacting with calm detachment. You build what the sources call a zero-error tolerance for destructiveness.
Zero error tolerance. This sounds intense. What does the roadmap for a beginner look like there?
It happens in 2 phases. Phase 1 is retroactive correction. The insult happens, you get defensive, you feel bad. But that night, you heal it. You patch the code and clear the residue.
So you don't carry the baggage into Tuesday.
Right. Now, phase 2 is the ultimate goal. That's real-time immunity.
Real-time immunity.
Yeah. Because you've overwritten that specific trigger so many times, your system gets incredibly fast. The moment the event happens, your brain instantly selects the calm, optimized response.
Oh, wow.
You become an autarkic system. There are simply no docking stations left for insults to attach to. They just bounce off.
No docking station. I love that visual.
Yeah.
But I have to push back a little here. This level of constant self-correction, zero error tolerance, analyzing every interaction, it sounds suspiciously like perfectionism.
I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah, like, are we just trading our old anxiety for an exhausting obsession with being perfect? If you are already in the pioneer phase and satisfied with your life, why keep analyzing? Doesn't this constant tweaking ruin the joy of just living?
It's a really important distinction to make. The sources address this by bringing in the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen.
Which means continuous improvement, right?
Exactly. We have to separate toxic perfectionism from constructive perfectionism. Toxic perfectionism is driven by a profound fear of failure.
Like you're terrified the whole system will crash if you aren't flawless.
Right, which goes back to that survival mode. But constructive perfectionism Kaizen is driven by the joy of tweaking. Because your baseline satisfaction is secure, errors are no longer emotional threats.
They're just data points.
Precisely. The text brings in this great metaphor of an AI in self-training. Think of a deep learning process. When a chess AI loses a game, it doesn't sit in the dark feeling guilty about its worth as a computer.
It just updates its weights and biases and plays again.
Yes. You aren't operating out of fear anymore. You possess what's called optimistic causal attribution.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means you know your success isn't a fluke, it's a result of your competence. You are essentially in a permanent beta phase, always functional, always delivering good results, but always joyfully improving.
That is a profound paradigm shift. Moving from a fear-based life where every mistake is a tragedy to a data-driven life where mistakes are just free training material. It fundamentally rewrites how we view obstacles.
It really does. You stop seeing friction as a punishment.
So, to synthesize this journey for you listening, we have covered a lot of ground today. We went from merely surviving a tough phase to identifying that turning point where you step up as the pioneer.
Reclaiming the daytime.
Exactly, reclaiming the daytime with effortless flow. And then doing the real transformative work in the evening decompression chamber. By treating our mistakes as data to overwrite our neural pathways, we achieve true emotional immunity.
You know, there's a quote from Seneca found in the sources that perfectly captures this whole philosophy. He wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult."
Whoa, that hits completely differently after talking about neural reconsolidation.
Doesn't it? By doing this evening work, you stop treating the world as a burden. You start using it as a canvas for your own design. The difficulty evaporates because you finally dared to act and rewrite your own code.
That is incredibly empowering. So we want to leave you with a final provocative thought today. Think about the biggest frustration you faced today. Maybe someone cut you off, or a meeting went poorly.
We all had one.
Right. Instead of carrying it as a heavy weight into your dreams tonight, what if you treated it as a simple bug in the code? How will you actively rewrite that script tonight so that tomorrow the new you just flows right past it?
A great question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you next time.